Hey there, Wayne Jennings here, and I've got a brand new camera I'm going to check out today. This is made by a company called Victure. It's the Victure AC700 action camera. It's reasonably priced, around $70, and it does slow motion, time-lapse, and 4K. But at that price point, is it any good? Well, stick around, we'll check it out. Victure is an electronics company that manufactures action cameras. As well, they produce trail cameras, internet protocol cameras, and MP3 players. The name Victure is derived from the words victory and adventure. Combining them means victory by adventure. The Victure AC700 action camera features a Sony IMX179 image sensor sitting behind an all-glass wide-angle lens. It's capable of recording video resolutions of 720, 1080, 2.7K, and 4K, as well as still images up to 16 megapixels in size. This lightweight camera weighs in at only 2.2 ounces. That's about 70 grams with the battery and memory card installed. And it retails for an average price of about $75 US. For that price, you get everything you see here. So let's take a closer look. Of course, you get the camera itself, and it comes with this waterproof housing, capable of submerging the camera down to a depth of 40 meters. There's a handy little snap-on cage with a tripod socket and a removable belt clip. You get 2 quick-release base plates along with extra adhesive pads. It comes with a nice assortment of mounting brackets, including tripod adapters and a handlebar mount. There are numerous straps, cables, and Velcro strips included to help secure your camera. It comes with 2 rechargeable lithium-ion batteries rated at 1,050 milliamp hours each, and of course there's a USB charging cable. You get an external clip-on microphone for recording better audio, and it even comes with a handy little wireless remote control. They even supply you with a lens cleaning cloth, and of course, there is a user manual. The camera itself comes with this sturdy-looking waterproof housing, which is rated for a depth of 40 meters. That's well over 100 feet. It appears to be well built. It's got the O-ring seal in the back here. The nice thing I like about this is it has this little safety latch on the top. You can't accidentally open this camera by hitting the main latch. You have to slide this safety lever before you can open it. And it's a nice feature to have. The camera fits in there really snug. And just before we get to the camera, I want to show you it also comes with this spare back door for the housing. Now at first glance it looks just like a spare back door, but upon closer look you see there are 2 little slots on here that are open to the elements. So they call this the dust door, and that's basically not for underwater but just to protect the camera from the elements when you're out and about. Now these slots help by releasing heat, because these little cameras can build up some heat, especially in that tight housing. Also, under certain weather conditions, condensation from the heat can form inside, and that will allow the moisture to escape. Also, when you're recording audio, these slots allow the sound to penetrate the housing for better audio recording. So let's check out the camera itself. It comes in this black finish. I believe it's a plastic material, but around the top and the sides we have this rubberized grippy material, which just allows you to handle the camera without it sliding a little easier. The front, of course, is dominated by the wide-angle lens, and there's this power and mode button. So to get things going, you push that and just hold it for a second, and then the splash screen comes on in the back. And to indicate you have power, there's this little blue LED in the bottom, and when the camera is plugged in and charging, there's a red LED that appears above that blue one. Let's just take a look on the top here. We have this little switch that says OK. That is, of course, your shutter release. Beside it is a little LED that glows blue when the camera is connected to a Wi-Fi device. On this far end we have two little buttons, an up and a down button, again to help you with the menu and to connect it with the Wi-Fi. And on the far end we find all our slots here for connecting things. We have a USB and a HDMI ports. Of course, we have the micro SD card slot on the top. And the nice thing, this camera on the bottom here has a 2.5 millimeter microphone input jack, which is a great feature. It allows you to plug in an external microphone. At the bottom is where the battery goes inside this, behind this door. There is no tripod socket, which is kind of disappointing. That's a nice thing to see on these small cameras. Go back to the screen here, and it's a 2-inch screen, nice and bright, easy to read. It is not touch screen though, but you can cycle through the menu pretty easily by pressing that mode button on the front. When you first turn the camera on, it defaults to the video mode. There's a little video camera icon on the top, and if you push that button on the front, it now goes to the photo mode for shooting still pictures. Push it once more, and we see a selection of all the files, the video files. Once again, it shows our selection of the photo files that are in the memory card. And then press it once more, and we get into the menu. First off is the video menu, and you can push the little buttons on the side to go up and down and select what you want to change. For instance, if you want to change the resolution, you just highlight the top one, and then you have your selections there from 720 up to 4K. Using these up and down buttons, you can just find the one you want, then hit the top button, and now it's selected. And you know, there's other options: image stabilizer, looping video, time-lapse, things like that. So those are the video selections. Push the mode button on the front, and you get to the photo selections. Again, you can select the photo size, whether you want burst mode, things like that. Push it once again, and you have some generic tools here. We can set the volume, the sound, the exposure, things like that. And then once more, and then there's some generic things here like formatting the memory card, setting the language, setting the date, things like that. So it's quite extensive. Push that again, and then we can get out of the menu, and it goes back to the regular screen. So now we're all set to shoot videos and photos. Technically, this camera looks pretty good, but let's check out some of the actual footage. This scene, shot at a canoe race, was recorded at 1080 using the 60 frames per second frame rate.
Nice work, looking good.
At that frame rate, I was able to do some slow motion in post-production and slow things down a bit. This scene was shot at the 2.7K resolution setting. Now, I can't really see that it's much sharper than 1080. You would think at that size it would be, but to my eye, well, it looked pretty similar. Shooting at 4K, everything is very sharp and very crisp, especially when it's a static shot. But add a bit of movement to the scene and things get a little different. If you notice in this shot, there's vehicles driving across that bridge in the background, but if you take a close look, you see they kind of stutter as they go by. That same effect is apparent in this shot of the bicycle going by. This camera does a nice job of shooting slow motion sequences.
Yeah!
This scene was shot at the 720 resolution at 120 frames per second. And of course, with the waterproof housing, this camera can be taken underwater. A looping mode allows you to record video for a period of 1 minute, 3 minutes, or 5 minutes before it repeats the loop process. This camera does a nice job of shooting still photos. You can select a resolution size of 5, 8, 12, or 16 megapixels. There is also a self-timer mode and a photo burst mode that will fire off 3 or 5 frames at once. This camera does a nice job of recording time-lapse sequences. You can set the frame rate to record a frame every 1, 5, 10, 30, or 60 seconds. So now I'm going to do a little sound test on the camera. Right now I'm speaking at the camera, so my voice is being picked up on the built-in microphone. And that's fine, but the disadvantage there is if I turn my back to the camera, if I'm speaking this way, the sound won't be as good because I'm speaking away from the camera. Or if I move further back, I have to raise my voice to be heard because I'm further away, because I'm back there and the microphone is here on the camera. Luckily, this camera comes with a external microphone, so you can plug this in, clip this on, and then wherever you are, you should get better sound because it's being recorded here and not there. So let's plug it in and check it out. Okay, so now I've plugged in this microphone and I'm still about the same distance as I was before, so the sound will be very similar. But the advantage to this kind of microphone is if I turn my back to the camera, I can still talk in a normal voice, or if I move away from the camera, the sound should still be good because I'm plugged in with this cable. Now, this microphone that comes in the kit, the cable's about 1 meter long. I've added maybe a 2-meter extension, so I'm quite a bit further away, which is good. Again, if I turn my back to the camera, I can talk. But as you can see, the sound with a plug-in external microphone is much better. This little camera can also be operated from a distance using the included remote control. It's very simple. There are just 2 functions on here, video and photos. Just push this white button, the little blue LED comes on, and the camera starts recording video. Push it once again to stop it. You can also take still pictures by pushing this red button. You push that once, and the camera snaps a picture. The other method, of course, is to use Wi-Fi. Once you've got the app installed on your device, whether it's a smartphone or tablet, it's just a simple matter of connecting with your camera. And as you can see, this is the image that your camera is looking at right now. You have 2 basic options, movie or photo. You can, of course, start recording video when it's on movie setting and stop it, or if it's on photo, you can take pictures, still pictures. Then, of course, there's a little menu in here where you can go in and set things up like your white balance, your exposure, or in the movie mode, you can go in and you can adjust the resolution and a few things like that. Not a lot of settings, but enough basic settings to operate the camera from distance. You can also pull up all the files that are stored on the SD card, so you can look at all your still photos or all your videos to review them and to play them back on your device as well. So this camera has a built-in electronic image stabilizer. Right now that feature is turned off. I'm just walking along this path in the woods here, and I'm holding the camera at arm's length on a selfie stick just to give you an idea what kind of shot you get with the image stabilizer turned off. It's kind of a rough path. There's lots of up and down undulation here. So we'll turn that image stabilizer on and we can compare the two. So here is the same shot with the image stabilizer turned on. Now I'm actually walking over the exact same terrain just to get an accurate comparison. So as you can see, with most electronic image stabilizers, it actually crops the image a bit, but it does a pretty good job. Maybe not as good as a powered gimbal would do, but not bad at all. Another nice feature on this camera is the ability to invert the image. So if you're mounting it upside down, like on these bicycle handlebars, then you can just go into the menu and select upside down. That way the image reverses and you don't have to do it when you're editing. In the menu, you'll find a setting called car mode. Basically, when you switch that on, this little camera becomes a dash cam. And the nice thing about that is you can plug in a USB cable to get power to the camera. So even if there's no battery installed, this camera will record video all day as long as you've got it plugged in. There are a few settings in the menu that allow you to tweak the image. There is an exposure compensation setting, where you can adjust it up or down by a factor of up to 2 f-stops. The white balance setting can be left on automatic or switched to daylight, cloudy, fluorescent 1, fluorescent 2, or incandescent. And the ISO can be set to automatic or 100, 200, 400, 800, 1600, or as high as 3200 ISO. An effects setting lets you leave it on normal or set it to sepia, black and white, or negative. You can also adjust the settings for things like contrast, saturation, and sharpness. So my thoughts and conclusions on the Victure AC700 action camera. Well, let me just say, it's a good camera. It is not a great camera. It's got a lot of good features. It'd be better maybe if it had, say, an LED on the front that would flash so that when the camera's pointing at you, you know it's recording. It'd be nice if it had a tripod socket built into the camera so you wouldn't have to use the case or the cage on it. And it does, a very good job at shooting 1080 video. It does great slow motion sequences and really nice time-lapse sequences. And the nice thing about those, it does them in the camera. With a lot of other cameras, say you shoot slow-mo, you crank up the frame rate and you shoot your scene, and then back in editing, you have to manipulate the speed. This does it all for you in the camera, so that basically after you've shot the scene, you can just play it back or hook it up to a TV and play it back, so no post-production necessary. It also does that with time-lapse. Basically, time-lapse is just a series of still pictures, and then on your editing system, you put them together as a sequence. But this does it all in the camera. So right after you shoot the time-lapse, you can just view it right away. So those are some really great features found on this little camera. But, it does fall down in a few of the areas when it comes to resolutions. At 720, it's a bit soft, but that's to be expected. I mean, most cameras at 720 are softer than 1080. That's just a mathematical thing. But I was a little disappointed with the 2.7 resolution and the 4K resolution. The 2.7, to me, it should be sharper than HD, but it really wasn't. And the 4K, I was disappointed with. I mean, it shoots really sharp 4K. Don't get me wrong. The image is really crisp, really sharp, lots of detail. But where it falls down is in the motion sequences in 4K. If you're shooting a static scene or a scene with little movement towards the camera, it's really good. But as soon as you get some back and forth, left to right movement, it kind of stutters and jumps. It's almost as if, it claims to be a 30 frame per second frame rate, but it's almost as if it's shooting at a different frame rate, and it just doesn't handle that speed. So, if you're looking for a 4K camera, this is not the one to recommend. Realistically, it only costs between $60 and $80. So, it's not like you're spending a lot of money. But like I say, for shooting 1080, it's a really good camera. And the one thing I really like about it is the fact that it comes with an external microphone that you can plug in and get really good sound. Because having good sound, that really makes a big difference in a video production. So, I'd recommend this camera, but not certainly as a professional camera, not if you want it as your B camera for your documentary. I wouldn't recommend it for that. But for general purpose camera, for family vacations, for just getting out there, getting shots in your canoe and your kayak, and doing everything in 1080, this is definitely a camera worth considering.